Drink Tank.
Hey everybody, welcome to pretty much the inaugural episode of Drink Tank. We came up with the title during the Last of Us video and kind of stuck. So hopefully you liked my cheesy little intro graphic. I spent all of 20 minutes doing it, if you can believe it. I'm joined today by my buddy Cuds and another member of the Schlender Five, my father.
Hello.
So we are here to discuss, in case we were being too subtle, the season 3 of Star Trek Picard. Now, I've only seen the first season of Picard, and I skipped season 2. I know you both saw seasons 1 and 2, but I'm going to go ahead and say I probably made the right call here.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah. Well, they produced seasons 2 and 3 together, and I think one of the reasons why season 3 probably doesn't have as many references to season 2 is because it was in post-production, and they probably weren't 100% sure where the story was going to shake out.
Which makes sense.
But I don't think I missed anything. My initial impression, season 3, I think it started strong and it stayed strong. So we'll start with no spoilers right away. I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Next Generation.
I agree. Highly recommend.
Absolutely. I thought it was a fan favorite. I mean, it had a lot of Easter eggs in it as you go back, and
Yeah.
a lot of times, like I said, there's a nerd.
Yeah.
It was a very well-rounded story to something that started 35 years ago and had a nice conclusion and had a lot of throwbacks and nods to not just Next Generation but other series as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, I like them bringing in stuff from the other series, and because I know it was kind of the hope we were expecting from season 1 of Picard was there's so much stuff out there now. Wouldn't it be awesome if they brought it all together?
Yeah.
And they really didn't, not in season 1. And so this is the show it probably should have always been, to be honest. So if you're a fan of Next Generation, check it out. If you're a fan of the Star Trek movies, this is probably a good mix between the action-heavier movies and more character-driven stuff. So even if you like the movies, I think there's something in here for you. And if you're just a fan of good writing, good characters, everybody has something to do. Every character gets their moment to shine. Everybody has setup and payoffs. If you're a fan of just good writing and you want to see what it's like because you've been watching Netflix schlock for too long and you forgot what quality TV is, may I recommend season 3 of Picard.
Yeah, I would agree.
So there you have it. 3 for 3 on the recommendations. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it now because we're going spoilers, warp 10 spoilers.
How fast is warp speed?
Yeah, it's incremental speed of light. I don't know if I don't know. It is funny because they do, one of the big complaints about the way warp speed works in Star Trek is that you can clearly follow it. Warping out of places, they're always talking about energy trails they leave. So the few times in the show where they're we need to warp out of here, it's okay, go half a warp faster, you'll catch them.
Yeah.
You can trace them. Because there's even that part where they were talking about the energy weapons were going to leave a tag on the hull of the Enterprise, and you're going to be able to trace them if they if we get hit by this laser, it's going to give off radiation, and they'll be able to follow us. But that's my little rant about warp in Star Trek.
There's loopholes in everything.
There are loopholes in everything. So I suppose we'll jump right into the story. What'd you think of the story? You can discuss spoilers now. I told everybody to kick rocks if they hadn't.
I really enjoyed the story. I was very unsure, after seeing season 1 and 2 of where the story was going to head and turn.
Yeah.
And then, they alluded and gave a lot of hints in the earlier episodes of season 3, but then they didn't really fully get into it till the last 2-3 episodes of having the Borg come in, and then it's nod backs to Locutus, and then Jack obviously having Borg DNA and the mutation and everything else, and translating everybody else into the Borg that are much younger.
Yeah, they used the...
Yeah, because it goes back, the way they tied it all up then, they just went back and the Borg were playing a real long game.
Yes.
Though we didn't know it at the time. So it's a great thing to take a storyline like that and tie it back to something that happened earlier and then but they tied it in right.
They did.
I agree.
I think they tied it in right.
Same thing with the Changeling story is, early on you're hearing all the Changeling, you're thinking of the Dominion War with DS9, not really sure where the ship is sailing.
Yes.
And then you get the curveball of Borg thrown in there too, and it's
Yeah, we were going down. I went down the rabbit hole with the whole thing. They wanted to get the mutation of the disease, and they were going to use
the aromatic syndrome.
The aromatic syndrome, and just wipe out all of humanity. That's I thought that was where the Dominion War thing came in. So throwing in the Borg that was kind of cool because I really wasn't expecting Borg.
Right.
And
No.
I mean, even though they gave the hint, kind of the viney thing, I guess you could say,
It's all
it
connected,
wasn't. It wasn't Hive-like.
When I saw the vines, I wasn't even thinking Borg, but now that you said that, it's definitely a nod to it because there's so many little Easter eggs and
Barton's big theory. He couldn't be here with us today, so I hope you're watching at home, Barton. He was thinking that there was going to be like some kind of Pa-Wraith thing because he was expecting so much because the Changelings and the Dominion Wars and DS9 and the red, very significant color in like Bajoran religion and like with the Pa-Wraiths, and I was like, okay, that could be interesting. Like,
definitely would have been.
I think their use of the Changelings was pretty cool. The idea of them like trying to weaponize the Changelings so that way they could like pass like bioscanners and stuff like that. First of all, why would Starfleet want that? Why would you want to create like the ultimate super spy that now not even you can trace?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little, it doesn't hold up under scrutiny, but it's a cool thing.
It did bring in a little bit of the edginess of what you usually don't see in Star Trek too, like that whole Daystrom scientific. Are we really going to do this? Not going to do it, and because they're all about saving lives and stuff. And here you got this guy there, that pure was torture. That kind of thing. So that was a little bit different, but maybe that's setting up because they're looking at Section 31 coming up and those kind of things.
For me, it was nice to see an expansion of the Daystrom Station because you always heard him talk about it in previous season's episode, but you never really knew anything about it.
No, I wasn't expecting it to be like a space lab.
Yeah, it's like that black site.
It was nice that they touched on like not just the Daystrom Station, but like a lot of other things that they always hinted at in all the other series, and then they kind of tied it all together.
Yeah, it was interesting. It really was because Starfleet's got to do something with all the relics and weapons they found. I mean, like they've got to put them somewhere. Got to put them somewhere.
The Fleet Museum.
Fleet
Museum was awesome.
I wish they would have done more with that.
The screen wasn't big enough when they first zoomed in on all that. It's like, make the screen bigger and let me see what's really going on here.
And we watched it on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, we were still like, I need to see more.
I really wish they would have spent an episode or two just there.
They could,
exploring it, and then like,
we only have 10 episodes. And so...
I don't care.
I thought it was ingenious when they stole the cloaking device.
Yes.
Though I was thinking they were going the other route, that they were going to steal the bird of prey.
I thought they were going to take the whole ship.
I thought they were just going to take the whole ship.
I thought you were going to have like the young people.
Yeah.
I really thought that because I thought that's where the breaking point was going to be. You were going to have the children, like the next generation, steal a ship, and now you've got 2 ships.
Yes.
Because in the other series, how many other times did they steal a bird of prey, utilize a bird of prey?
That was the one from Star Trek 4 too, they said.
Yes.
This is the one they pulled out of the bay. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think if this show had been given an actual budget and a realistic production timeline, we probably could have done that. But as it is, like this was pretty much the leftovers once they were done with seasons 1 and 2. As my understanding of it, it had almost no money. It had a very tight production thing. Like Terry Matalas in an interview says they were gluing down the carpet on the Enterprise D, and they only had 2 days to film on it.
Wow. Yeah,
and even bringing in Q at the end, that was immediately after Jack is revealed to be Borg. They walk Patrick Stewart out, wardrobe change, lighting change, get John Delancey in, and it was like, dude, we have 20 minutes to get this scene done.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah, they did really well.
So,
they had, not knowing they had the time constraints like that.
In the Ready Room, he said that it took them, I think, 4 to 6 months to build the bridge and 2 days to film.
Yeah. Wow. Because there's like nothing of it left. Yeah. There's all this talk about this Star Trek warehouse out there, but I guess it's not really a thing. And so they had to rebuild it. And mercifully, some of the people who designed, the guy who designed the original is still around.
In the Ready Room, Will Wheaton has him do a tour with him.
And
explain
cool.
it. It's really cool.
I'll have to check that out.
You can see like Will Wheaton like getting his chills and feels.
Yeah,
like, it was very cool.
That was the, so... If we're going to talk about like everybody having character moments, even the Enterprise D gets a big character moment. Like they give
absolutely.
Give the ship a character moment.
As it should. It played a big part in the original series.
Yeah, it's what we're familiar with.
Oh, big time! Because when they come out with the next generation movies, and the first thing they do is they blow that one up.
Yep.
You know, it's like a lot of the Star Trek ones, all your favorite ships are getting blown up, you know. You go back to the original series, you know, you go, they took them out, you know. That's the Enterprise. No, you can't do that. But it was neat bringing it back. But what do they do with the Foxtrot, though? So my question is, what happened to F? They rechristened at the end.
Titan. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Yeah, I think they should have just kept it the Titan. Like, it's fine.
Why not?
Well, so they say they decommissioned the F in the wake of like the Borg takeover, but like why? Like, you still need an Enterprise. So it's like, the Titan is in better shape. How?
It still would have had all the same stuff. It was a new starship that came out. But maybe they put so much of that hive-minded stuff in it, they didn't want to keep that technology in the fleet.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Why the fleet would decide to put in like integrated computers. Obviously, they never watched Battlestar Galactica because every time, I mean, not to be glib here, but this kind of was Battlestar Picard. Like, you have your old analog, which it's not really analog, it's just not connected to like a widespread data thing. So you have your old, in this case, the Enterprise D, or in Battlestar Galactica, the Galactica, going up like against the modern ships that are all systems integrated and are easily taken over by a robotic foe or cyborg foe. And it's just, and even in Battlestar Galactica, the whole, I don't know if you ever saw the reboot, but the whole point of the Cylons was they wanted to be more human. And so they created like bioengineered human Cylons, and their thing was they needed to find a way to reproduce and propagate. And like,
if you want to talk about more humans, let's talk about Data.
So exactly. Well, they're kind of all like Data then. Like the Cylons were very similar to what they kind of say for like Data and Picard, where it's like synthetic sort of, you know. But you're right. Let's break into the characters for a little bit. I mean, the plot itself is pretty simple. Changelings infiltrate Starfleet. They use Picard's Irrimatic syndrome, but it turns out it's actually Borg DNA protocols. They overwrite the minds of Starfleet's youth, which is interesting.
Using the transporters.
Which, you know,
they made one comment and they're saying the cutoff on that was going to be like 25
when the brain stops developing, which is kind of neat.
Yeah,
you know, it's fine.
Makes sense.
So, you know, for however long they were doing that, like they were overwriting their DNA with like Picard's DNA. So that way Jack, who had like the transmitter in him, kind of like very similar, like bees, I guess, is kind of what they're going with. He can send out a signal, and we saw him do it a couple times in the season, like when he takes control of Geordi's daughter. He makes her fight. Like that was pretty neat.
It was.
And so then they override all the youth in Starfleet. The youth takes over. They're all connected. Big bioborgs kind of stuff. And then, of course, it comes down to our older cast whose
never
brains...
been so happy to see so many wrinkles.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a funny line.
And then they go to save the day. But the story itself is very serviceable. It's fun. It really is just a great stage, though, for characters. And it's so good to see these characters... like not necessarily just back, but they've lived in this world now, and I feel like they've aged appropriately.
Correct.
They have new skill sets and new demeanors.
Yep.
And
they've definitely developed themselves as characters over the last 20, 30 years of everything.
Since they haven't done it in a while.
No, especially too, like you look at 7 or 9, you knew where she ended with Voyager ending.
Yes.
And then you see all the growth she's had, and even if you don't watch season 1 or 2, just jumping right into 3, like you can see and tell that she's grown exponentially. And then from the start of the season to the end, becoming a captain and like growing and so much more as a person.
Yeah, no, there was a lot to her development this season too. She was, I mean, I agree. And Terry Matalas, obviously a fan from when they worked together back in the Voyager days. So, but you're right. It felt like an organic growth for her character. It wasn't just like, all right, it wasn't like we need to end up with 7 in the captain's chair. It's like the story developed, and it's like, well, 7's going to end up in the captain's chair based on everything that... I personally would have liked to keep Shaw around.
Shaw.
Shaw.
Shaw was... he was such a interesting guy to come out at the start. I mean, when he first starts out, you just look at him and go like, oh my God, this guy is a piece of work.
Right.
And then as he... But that little scene for him even, they did it so well when he meets Geordi. Right, he's kind of like geeking out, and then, you know, the engineering thing, like, oh my gosh, this is him, you know, that kind of thing. So that was that. I enjoyed that moment. That was pretty neat. And then they had The other character, like the way they did the writing on that, though, the interactions that Picard would have with Jack, and the one scene where you see Jean-Luc trying to eat his dinner, and all the glory, the kids, the flashback, right?
Yep.
And all the younger Starfleet people, oh hey, it's the Admiral, it's the Admiral, it's the Admiral, and then having that little glimpse that Jack was there the whole time. And did you need a family? And well, Starfleet was the only family I ever needed. And then he looks back up and he's gone.
Yep.
Right? So the tie-backs to that was
pretty
really good.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, no, like we were saying earlier, everybody really gets something to do. And I know you want to talk about Data, so let's jump into...
How can you not talk about Data?
Data was awesome.
Well, he's died twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
He's always evolved with his emotion chip.
Yes.
And then always wanted to become more human. And
Exactly.
now, after second time of dying, him being morphed into Data, Dr. Soon, before, Lore.
Yeah, all at once.
And who knows what else was in there, too.
Well, yeah, they really didn't say. They kind of just...
That's a vague.
You knew that they said that you knew that there was different levels of Soon
Yes.
Yeah. It's fine.
engineering in it, but the big two, it's like here you go, kind of like the DNA in our dog. It's this and this, and then a bunch of mutt.
Yep.
So who else was in there?
And they also had to explain
But
age.
Lore, come on,
and,
Lore.
and how
Him aging.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
He's almost 80 years old, or if not 80.
I don't know how old he is, but he's
I don't know.
he's not young.
But how can you be an android and never age, and then all of a sudden you're 80?
Right.
It's the
You
new-
work with what you got.
Yes.
You work with what you got. They set up.
Well, they set that up
Here's
with
the plot
Picard's
point.
body, that kind
Absolutely.
of stuff. There he is, and all this synthetic.
God, that's right. The
then-
synthetic flesh.
It was great at the end where Deanna Troy's like, "Am I sensing joy?" As he's flying around, and you can see his smirk and actual
Trust my
emotion.
gut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trust my gut.
And Joy's.
We're gonna trust this guy. That was there was the part where, because Picard in this when they were doing like season 1, they have him just waxing nostalgic and poetic over Data, and it's like they never really had that. Like that's Geordi's job. Geordi's job is to give a speech about Data, and he gets to give a Data speech this season when he's like, fight Lore, you gotta win and stuff or like that. You gotta fight
sure
back.
does.
And then I was like, because it was when Lore was taking over, I want to say, and then Geordi gives a speech about how Data's made him a better father. But then Data has to go into his mind to fight Lore, and I was like, I think I would have liked a Geordi speech during this part. But they were smarter than me, and they just made it all about Data tricking Lore into erasing himself. And I think probably Goodbye Brother was probably my favorite part of this season, like when Data beats Lore and he's like, goodbye, brother. And then he says, goodbye, brother.
It was great. And then when they were actually filming that, Brent Spiner was just walking around in circles, playing each character as they're doing the filming.
Really?
They had a stand-in.
Oh my goodness.
So he knew who to look at or whatnot, but it was just him walking around in circles.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite part this season, if I'm being honest. Goodbye, brother. Yeah. I loved it, and Brent Spiner got to really act.
Yes.
The star of this season, though, probably Riker.
Yeah,
I
would
think
agree.
so. I think so too. It could have been the Riker show.
It really could have been the Riker show.
Even in the seasons 1 and 2 when he was
Oh,
there,
absolutely. He
what
just
stole the
presence.
show.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, in the season 1 when he went and saw him on the planet,
making pizza?
and all
Yep,
that,
making pizza.
and it's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's Riker. He just falls right back into that. Jonathan Frakes falls right back in that role. Fantastic.
It was really good. I really enjoyed just his portrayal this season. Is because he's still very loyal, but he's also you get to see much more of he's kind of like a broken character a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
He feels alive in Starfleet, and him reconnecting with Troy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite part in that finale is where he thinks he's gonna die, and he's just like, "I'm so sorry," and she's like, I know where they are. And they just fly the Enterprise in. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Cool. Cool. I loved it.
Just very cool moments.
That was another D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to see the ship fly in and hit.
Beverly getting on the weapon station and just like destroying everything.
And everyone stops and
just
what
looks
the
at
fuck
her.
is this?
Yeah, she's like,
Since when did you learn to do that?
a lot's happened in 20 years. Yep. It was awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, so many good moments. Just truly excellent setups and payoffs.
Worf was really good.
Worf was excellent.
when he sat down and fell asleep after they...
Yeah.
Snooze. I was like,
Using Worf as comedy has always been kind of their strong suit. Like they've always used him for jokes and stuff like that as well, and it's always worked.
There's a lot in season 3, and on the Borg, and Worf goes, "Let's make it a threesome."
yes, I know. Or even when he goes, "Here, pick it up," and Riker goes to pick up the blade. I'm so happy.
Then he pulls out a
phaser. You had a phaser the whole time.
Swords are fun. Yeah. Or when he sees Picard and he's like, "Thank you for the gift of sour mead." He's like, "Sour mead?" He's like, he's talking about your wine. And then it turns out like nobody likes Picard's wine. It's like, does anyone drink it? Like
Just Picard.
No. I was waiting for the vineyard to die. Like, yeah, not even he likes it. He grew to great stuff. And then the ending truly, I mean, I heard this guy, Dave Cullen, he was talking about, I don't believe in the term fan service. It's customer service because people tune in to see certain things. So is it really fan service or are you just doing your job? He equated it to, like, if you bring your car to a mechanic to get it fixed and they fix it, well, that's customer service because that's what you're going there for. Right. So he's like, I don't really know if fan service is the correct term as opposed to customer service. And that kind of stuck with me as I was thinking about this really was like for the fans customer service in a lot of ways. Even the very end where they sit down to play cards again because at like the end of All Good Things, I loved it.
Oh, I was so pumped when Picard's at the bar, gives a speech that he
pulls up the
ace.
Ace of Spades. Yeah.
Yep.
So when they were filming that,
Nice.
Terry Matalas let the cameras roll for like 45 minutes and just let them play and like ad-lib. There wasn't really a set script for it.
Cool.
So it was just a couple of lines that he wanted to get, and then it's their real reactions, their real smiles, and just them having fun together, rolling over the credits. And Terry Matalas said during the ready room that that's how he knew he was going to end it.
Right.
With that scene, that episode, like that way.
Fantastic.
And then the nod to Q. The way it all started, he wanted to end it that way too, which to me is just brilliant. Like you give so many nods to the original, and you wrap it up in a nice way.
And then you give the potential for if he gets to do.
If there's more, there's the room.
I don't know if Terry Matalas. I hope Paramount and like all those executive, because you see all these Star Trek shows, they just have like 37 executive producers.
Yeah,
there's so many producers.
Right.
Like so. All of those egos clashing is how we've been getting modern Trek, or like, because it's somebody's not even like passion project, it's just their thing. Like they're like, I can make a Star Trek. It hasn't been great. There have been some parts I liked. I didn't mind the first season of Discovery. I thought it was
good.
Interesting ideas. I mean, we just kind of have to come to terms with the fact that Star Trek now is dark, violent, and full of swears. And Starfleet is oftentimes the bad guy for some reason. Like, it's just, we're always going to get these tropes. And it was kind of nice because Picard season 3 didn't really have those tropes. I mean, there was still some violence, but I mean, there's going to be.
Well, yeah.
There was still some swearing, but there's going to be. And like, it's not really Starfleet's the bad guys. You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked by changelings and then the Borg. So it's not Starfleet as an institution is flawed. It's, you've made some powerful enemies. And what is it? Your chickens come home to roost kind of thing. But I don't know. I know the ratings for Picard were pretty good. So I'm hoping they're going to let Terry Matalas have like a run at it. But that would require
a lot of rumors.
That would require all those other producers though having to eat crow and realize that like, because like nobody watches Discovery. Nobody watches Discovery. And they're still making it. And you know why? Because it's an ego project. Somebody's ego is involved in that project and they're not going to let it go.
I watched the first season and that was it.
Yeah.
I've watched all 3.
I've
watched all 3.
There's 4.
There's 4?
Yeah, you've watched 4.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
I've watched all of them.
I don't mind Strange New Worlds.
Season 1 was good.
It's a little uneven all over the place. I really like the ending though, where like Pike's like, he realizes that he has to end up in the chair so Spock can go. The trailer for season 2 of Stranger Worlds has me a little nervous because they're playing Spock for comedy again. Like, I would like the ship to go now. It's
But that's not his character.
I know.
It's not his character.
We didn't really. This version of Spock is not my favorite, and I kind of like recoil a little bit every time I see him on screen.
I'm willing to give season 2 a chance,
I'm going to watch it,
but I just don't know.
I liked
how
it.
much
I liked the first season. Oh, I thought it was good. I like Picard. I mean, like Pike. I mean,
Anson
Mount is fantastic at playing Pike. So.
And then like you were saying, they're going to do Section 31.
I heard rumors about that.
That's coming up, but that one's been trying. They've been trying to do that for a long time now. So I'll believe it when I see it.
And then what was the other one? Starfleet Academy? Is that
the show no one wants? Is that what and no one asked for? Yeah, that's what we need. We need a CW show, but with Starfleet. It's Star Trek Riverdale edition.
Come on.
You're out of your mind. Who's going to want to watch this? Who wants to watch a bunch of moody teens? No, absolutely not. And I've watched a lot of CW in my day.
Can we cut to you watching this, please?
Yeah, no. Like, it's going to be bad. It's going to be, again, it's going to be angsty teenagers being like, well, Starfleet's so great. I don't believe in Starfleet. Starfleet, it's like, there's just going to be something. Why are you in the academy? Why are you going to be, I guarantee you, it's going to be a bunch of moody teens running around like San Francisco being like, well, if Starfleet's so great, it's like, no, it's like, stop it. And then it's like, and it's going to be like, the one thing Star Trek is never supposed to be, it's going to be all about like gender identity and politicking along those lines. And Star Trek's not supposed to be about that. You're supposed to be beyond that.
Well
You've left it behind.
Well beyond
and it's like, this is going to, like, that's the problem is they're constantly undoing these things because every TV show coming out now is like a Southern California writer's dream. And Southern California is not the world. And there's like... Absolutely not. Like, there's, like, wow, oh my God. As a matter of fact, like these writers.
The only way they can do that is if they tie into some of the things in the past, where, like in the Calvin timeline now, where they were at the academy, and next thing you know, I'm trying to figure out what the ranks are. You know, having been previous military, it's like, are they midshipmen? What are they? And how do you get in a position of power to be like, you're just coming out of the academy. You're an ensign or whatever you are, right? And you show up and you're now the XO and that kind of thing. And I'm not sure how that works.
It's similar to Jack.
Yeah,
He just
absolutely.
as a special counselor to Captain 7.
Yeah, exactly.
How did that happen?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking like, they did say like 1 year later.
They did.
And
However,
so, because like, I'm pretty sure even a year later, like, you want to tell me
go through Starfleet Academy in
Section 31's not going to secretly disappear this guy and take his brain apart?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, I mean, here's a guy who single-handedly just like, it was like, oh, we put everybody through the transporters again, so they're fine. But you want to tell me that, like,
come on,
this guy, come on.
And Derek, thank you for spoiling episode 1, season 1. Section 31.
Yeah, they're going to hunt Jack down.
Dissect his brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who are they bringing into that? They're going to bring into that. That's going to be, though,
I heard
more in the future, and it's going to be bringing in, what was her name that played the Admiral or the General?
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah,
the Academy Award winner.
That's true.
Yeah.
She is Academy
You know
winner.
what? There was a plan. It's in the Deep Space Nine documentary. What We Leave Behind, or what is that? What it's called?
Yeah, what we leave behind, or what we left behind.
What we left behind.
What we left behind.
Something. I saw it in theater. I should know. I'm not going to Google it though. But what they had this part where they were storyboarding for what the next season of Deep Space Nine could have been. It would have been Bashir secretly running Section 31.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because of the genetically enhanced
Yes, exactly.
individual that he was.
It would have been Bashir. They were going to kill Nog because they thought it was a powerful enough death. Unfortunately, that actor has since passed. So if they were going to do it, they could. I mean, they could CGI him.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they're. Nobody wants to use Deep Space Nine like stuff. That's why I was so excited that like we at least had some.
Picard was. It was
In
a lot.
In Picard, there was like enough Dominion stuff.
Yeah.
Well, look at it. Right at the start, they had a Bajoran at the helm.
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, right out of the gate, you go, all right. So that's why that whole changeling thing was
I'm so
forefront.
motivated. And Worf implies that Odo is the guy who tipped him off.
Yes.
Which was
really
awesome.
kind of
It is.
Yeah.
There was a whole in the episode with Worf coming back and developing his character. He gives a lot of nods to Odo.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
And then the pot.
Well, he knew where when he goes to changeling, we're gonna find it.
Yep.
You know?
Oh man, yeah, those aren't withdrawals.
Yeah, those are
Whoa! Yeah, no, they did a lot. They did a lot well. I was very pleased with it. I'm hoping Terry Matalas gets to do like another
Something
show,
more.
like where he gets to follow like Captain Seven.
That would be cool.
Like, yeah, I mean,
Captain Seven, Rafi, and Jack.
yeah, exactly.
And if not, they left you a big cliffhanger. You don't know what she said when they took off.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. That's fine. You don't need to tell me what her catchphrase is. We're better off just kind of like, okay, well, if we get the show, we'll hear it.
Yeah.
But it's not important. It's like
it lets
not,
everybody else think what could it be.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
that's probably like people will be like, I think she said they're going to tweet it, and somebody's like, yoink, thank you. That's going in the script. Yeah,
I thought she was going to say punch it.
yeah. Given like punch it kind of makes sense for her. Punch it would make sense for her. Yeah,
Punch it.
I also feel like she would give a nod to Picard.
Yeah.
Almost. Maybe more, ramped up and excited, engaged. But
Or what was Janeway's from Voyager? Does anybody remember? I do not.
I've only seen a couple episodes of Voyager. I don't know.
I've not watched all of it yet.
Hers is probably there's coffee in that nebula. There was an episode where she says that, and
Yes.
it sticks with me for some reason.
I don't really think she had a designated catchphrase.
I don't
like
think
everybody
there
else.
was. I don't
Because
think she was.
I feel like
They should yell "hit it" and then start playing. It takes two. It takes two to make a thing go around. Hit it, boom, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there was or not.
I don't think there was.
I'll have to go back and look then. 'Cause
Punch it could work.
Punch it. That was.
She's the board stuff. Maybe she does it in binary 100110011. Like, Captain, we don't have time for this. I'm almost there.
A few
Great,
more
now I gotta start
zeros.
over. Yeah.
And why is she even doing that? Tap into the Borg
Mainframe, yeah.
warps. Now, where are they all going to go? All right, so
Is that the end of the Borg,
Now,
end of
bring
the
it out.
Borg?
You got to bring out the Borg.
Potentially.
Is it the end of the Borg? How is it at the end of the Borg?
I don't. It's got to be. I mean, how
Because
many
that's
times
the
can you
one
kill
thing.
the
This
queen?
this season kind of didn't. This season kind of ignored the Borg aspect of season 2.
Which is
Yes.
correct. Is they should.
And they
I've heard of that
did.
with Agnes.
Yes,
But then they also didn't really.
rule it out. But
They didn't rule it out. They also didn't give an end to the changelings completely either.
no, they did not.
So the
The
doors.
chainlings are still there because they showed the one catching
Yep.
the one, so you
Yep.
know some are going to evade.
They're around, but what are they going to do?
I don't know.
Section 31 is going to handle it.
Maybe that's.
Oh yeah,
maybe
Section
that's
31
what-
is
that's what it
tasked
is.
with like they're gonna like secret police through Starfleet.
But the other question though too,
No, they'll have a
isn't it?
changeling on their team, and the changeling's job will be to root out other changelings.
They'll make a new Oda.
Yeah, they're gonna have like a new Odo character. That's
Yeah.
what they'll do. I think you're right. I think that's what
that-
Section 31 did. They'll have a changeling hunt down other changelings. It'll be like a Blade Runner thing.
Wow.
There's a lot of doors.
Yeah, there's
open.
a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And the Queen. Well, didn't they take care of the Queen
Again,
again?
she explodes this time again.
Yes. Well, the last time
It was coolant.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Data stomps on her head. I mean, crushes the mainframe, the last little skull and whatever backbone spine thing. they
Unless
had.
the Borg just have many queen.
That's what
That's
I
what he
was
was saying.
wondering. Could they?
How do we
Why?
know? Yeah.
Well, how? Why not? Why couldn't they be? If it's like a bee culture,
And
Or
they're-
like
and if they're
multiple
so
queens,
spread
and they're
out
so
across the
spread out
galaxy.
Or
across,
like the Cylons, and she's downloading her consciousness.
could have been doing
Yeah.
that too.
But didn't she die in? Did they die in the? Did she die in the past, or had the Enterprise come back to the present timeline when she dies? No, she dies after the time travel. So in theory, her corpse exists in the past. I don't know. Time travel's stupid.
It would be in the past.
Yeah.
Well, there's been so many times they've interacted with the queen from.
But they
for
were on the
first
same ship. They
contact.
brought her back.
Yeah.
I mean, when they came back, I would assume it was still on the ship.
Yeah. I don't know how she. Yeah. Maybe she. They were talking about her.
But I mean, the concept of they're saying you left it, they just kind of ignored that because
Yeah.
you just said you left us in the waste to do nothing at the end. And they were they always then in the nebula in Jupiter? Because the big battle was in
No, because-
the quadrant.
No, 'cause
Jack
Jack saw
scans and it. And
the
they
vision
jump
he had.
in, yeah, and
Then
they
he had-
jump in because
Yes.
remember he's like, "Is it a wormhole?" And they're like, "Nope, it's like one of those Borg deep space relays." And then even Riker's like, "They put one in Jupiter."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. You know what?
Possibility.
I don't really. It was not that important to me. You knew that because I mean his legacy is like Locutus kind of, and they
Big time. They play that
They found
up
a way to
again.
bring the Borg back in and actually make them relevant for the
Yeah.
story. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always kind of like conquer, but at least this one wasn't just like, here are nanobots. Oh no, here's a Borg armada. It's like it was it was a new take on it. The Bioborgs
really beat up, and from Janeway giving them the disease to kill them all, wipe them out.
Yeah, you're right. So, and then that's why she had to like subsist on like the Borg in there and like keep like the necrotic tissue and stuff. Pretty good. Yeah. Any final thoughts on this before we wrap up here? I think we've done a pretty good job covering the show, things we liked, speculating on Star Trek's future.
I think so.
We kind of got it all.
I think so.
Yeah, that was very good. I liked it.
Yeah,
I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
That's all the time we got. Thanks for watching.
Later.